We're both doing the same. Hello, and welcome back to episode 14 of the Not Okay, It's Okay podcast. This is a place where it is okay not to be okay. Rashidah and I are here to offer you that space and, kind of talk about all the things and help us manage what life tends to throw at us on the daily. So, hey, Redang Dang, how are you?
Oh my gosh, I didn't know the world would know my alter ego.
Well, so listen, Beyonce has one, Sasha Scheer, so it might as well be. So, hello. Episode 14. Today we are talking about communication 101.
Yeah, I think it's and I think we both are on the same page that it's a really important topic, especially around the holidays, being able to communicate with people that you love, family members and all the
and to be able to communicate or not.
Yes.
Right? Engage or not.
Or not.
Right, because that is one of the pieces of healthy communication. Sometimes healthy communication is taking a break from communication.
Absolutely. And I wanted to say, Hilary, you look ravishing today.
Oh my
You got the lip, the eyeshadow, the leopard going. Look at you, girl.
I am going to take all the work that I do in therapy and take that compliment in and accept it, Rashidah, with gratitude. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You look really
Thanks, darling.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, before we get into the Redang Dang story and communication 101, how are you?
That question is a loaded question, right?
Yeah,
I think, and I was just talking to somebody about this today, when people ask, how are you? And what answer do people typically give is, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm all right.
Everything's fine, everything's great.
Everything is Gucci. And then, but the reality is, sometimes it's a front. So if I were to say how I am today, I am literally surviving.
I hear you. Okay. Care to share?
Just, the holidays are coming, the kids, the virtual, the COVID, clients are, dealing with a lot right now. So it's just, it's a lot.
It is a lot. And I can second that in real life and in life as a mental health professional. This is, 'tis the season.
Yes.
Again, we said, I think in our holiday stress part 1, we were talking about, the culture of Hallmark, the most wonderful time of year, and how it's really not the truth for most. And I think it shows up a lot of time, and I think we can both speak on it, and especially you, because you're in a crisis unit. Just how much people do struggle with the holidays and the stress, and this year more than ever, we have this overabundance of stress.
Yes, an extra layer of it.
Oh yeah, big time. And so it definitely shows up. Stress.
Yeah. So if I'm surviving right now, but by tomorrow, hopefully I'll be thriving.
You will be. Nothing a good dinner and a good night's sleep can't fix sometimes, right?
Chinese food tonight. I'm excited.
What do you get from Chinese food?
I'm going for that fried chicken and French fries that they do. They fry it real crisp, like I like it.
Ooh. I don't think I've never had that from Chinese food before. We have so many food dates ahead of us. We're gonna have a podcast on the road. I know, and also that place where you told me I have to get that fried fish. What was it?
Whiting.
Fried whiting. I've never had that. You have to take me. Hey Tammy. Hey Cheryl.
Hi Tammy. Hey Cheryl.
How you doing?
Super fans.
So
let's talk about communication. How
am I? You ask. Well, finish. Everything's fine. Everything's great. No, really, I feel like I can absolutely echo your sentiment. I too feel like I am surviving and kind of in that rat race of the holidays-ish. And I'm doing my best to be mindful and catch myself in those moments because especially this year, every year, there's a lot to be grateful for.
Yes, right.
So all of this. So I have found myself exactly where you are. And I feel like I'm working on clawing my way out, but it's been really challenging. So I'm with you.
You know, it was interesting today. Again, it was like a busy day. And I turned and looked out the window of my office and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's snowing. Mm-hmm. Like that
what
moment.
Did you feel? Yeah.
Oh, I was like, wow. Like that just took me out of like everything that I needed to do and just like focused in on just those
slices of joy.
Slices of joy. Shout out Gina.
Yes, exactly. Shout out to Gina. She coined that. Hey, Stephanie.
Hey.
Stephanie said my parents always had smoked whiting. I'm curious how fried. Well, maybe everything is better fried, Stephanie. You might have to join us then on our fried whiting outing.
Road trip. It's going to be a road trip. You're invited. And we're going to get some, because, you have to have some really good fried whiting.
Okay. Well, I would imagine I don't want bad fried whiting. Definitely, yeah. So I'm going to trust you on this one, Rashidah, and you can take me wherever you want. And Stephanie, you are absolutely invited to come. So yes, here we are. Communication 101. Mm-hmm. What do you have to say?
Well, communication is a two-way street, right? Sometimes people think communicating is just about me saying what I need or what I want or what I expect.
Yep.
And then we fail to realize that communication on the other end is being able to actively listen to the person, right? And it's like, which role do you play?
Absolutely. And to add to that, I remember having an experience like in my late 20s when I was struggling with anxiety and I was learning about anxiety. I was really like, I felt like I was fighting for my life. And I remember that a lot of my close friends would ask me, how are you? And I did everything's fine, everything's great thing. Yeah. And I didn't allow them to show up with me. So in essence, I stopped that two-way street, right? Because not only is it being able to hear the other person, it's also being able to offer up my story and allow them to show up for me. So I remember, and these are still my friends now. This was a tough time because they felt, obviously they were sad that I was going through that and struggling, but they were also feeling pretty hurt and like offended that I didn't trust them with that information and allow them to show up for me the way I would always show up for them. So yes, two-way street for sure in many ways.
Absolutely. And you know what, Hilary, I can relate to you, in the sense that I start to think that if I say, hey, what's really going on with me, that I start thinking like, oh, well, they have their own issues or, things that they're dealing with.
I don't want to put that on them.
Right.
They have enough on their plate.
Right. And the reality is when I would finally say, and I've shared this on another show, when I would finally say, hey, this is what's going on. They're like, girl, why don't you tell me? I want to know what's going on with you.
So I can show up for you.
Yeah. So it's important, to just kind of put our stuff out there as well.
Yeah. And that's hard, of course. And I think this goes back to our original family culture, don't air your dirty laundry stuff. What happens in this house stays in this house. So a lot of us are conditioned and cultured into the not sharing piece, the being there for someone else, but closing off when it comes to us.
Right.
And like, you can figure this out, got this. Don't, it's weak to ask for help. And so in essence, that communication is asking for help because we're leaning on somebody.
Right. And again, you bring up that cultural piece, right? And you think if you're in a relationship with somebody and maybe, you two were brought up differently, with different values, different ways of seeing the world, those things come into play. Like, again, in my household, it was, like everything is hush hush. Like you said, we don't talk about nothing out there,
right?
And if you're going to bring it to somebody, bring it to God.
Right.
And you know what? When I was little, I was like, okay, I'm going to bring it to God, but God don't answer. He didn't say anything. Like he didn't, right. I just said something and I'm like, hello, you know?
It's like the Judy Blume book. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and communication styles vary as well.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. You know, so I mean, I guess where do you want to start? Where do you want to delve into?
I think the two-way street is spot on. So, you know, it is about you know, being 50-50 in all senses of the word, you know, that two-way street, offering that up, right?
Right.
Oh, Stephanie said she was just going to say Judy Blume.
Judy Blume.
Great mind, Stephanie. What can I say? So, you know, the thing that I find really interesting about communication and conflict is that we often are in conflict because we're not communicating, because we're feeling this disconnectedness. So I always kind of found that interesting, you know, and so that's it with communication. Connection is key.
Right. And to piggyback off what you were saying is sometimes we have like these expectations of the other person, of the, you know, well, they should know how I feel. I was trying to do the this, but I was over here. You know, they should know how I feel, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Why should they know?
They shouldn't. And it's your responsibility. And I'm saying the general you, right? It's my responsibility to communicate my needs. It is not up to my husband, parents, son, family, business, I have to know what I need or how I'm feeling. It's my job to say, hey, I need this. Can you show up this way for me? It's our job to give them the prescription, so to speak. Right.
And again, it's being clear, it's being direct, you know, and being honest about, you know, hey, this is what I need, this is what I want, you know, and that's very important.
Yeah, and knowing that we have a safe space to communicate that in, right? And that the person is going to be receptive to us.
Right. And, you know, I think, you know, when I think about, you know, that two-way street of communicating, you know, it's just being able to, you know, verbalize like what, you know, I'm feeling or my perspective, but also to be able to understand where the other person is coming from too.
Yeah. Yes. Brings up a great point, right? So we talk about two people in a relationship, any ship, friendship, relationship, whatever. It's important that we are able to cross the bridge over to the other person's side, right? And turn down the volume in our head, sit on our world and our belief systems, right? And see the world through their eyes.
And how... Yeah, I'm so sorry. I cut you off. You weren't finished communicating, Hilary.
And now I forgot. So there.
And now I just forgot too. Okay.
Really?
Sorry. Payback.
No, it's okay. So it's important to cross the bridge, see it through their eyes, because, you know, at the end of the day, we're all doing the best we can with what we know, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, Kanisha.
Hi, Kanisha. Oh, we got a wide range of wonderful ladies on here. Hi.
Yes. So asking for what we want is a big communication 101, right? We cannot expect our partners, our friends, our family to know what we need. It is not, it's not known until we make it known. So that's on us. That's our responsibility, right? And then the other side of it is the way in which we choose to communicate. So I guess we'll segue into that. So Rashidah, why don't we talk about some healthy / effective ways to communicate? How about that?
I love that. So a healthy way to communicate is to, I think, one, timing.
Yes.
You know, timing is important. And we've had this discussion before that, you know, it may not be a great time to talk to your husband about his snoring when he's about to leave for work.
Right. Or knee deep in homeschooling virtual kids. Right. Yes. Absolutely. And I actually have that on my list naturally because we are the same person.
Wow.
Under practical solutions. Yeah. So to recognize that just because you are ready to have the conversation because you've had your coffee and you have like 20 minutes before you have to be, do something, it might not be a good time for your partner or the other person that needs to be involved in the conversation. So scheduling an appointment, putting aside time to have a conversation is always a really necessary thing too. People can, especially now because we are so reachable, cell phone, snap, message, blah, 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 and it's like, we're always there, email, this, that. And I think the other part of that is we feel this sense of responsibility to have to respond right away. Right. And that is just, that's a no-no in the healthy / effective communication world, right? It's not a rush.
Right. And you think about it too, like I was thinking, like, how long do you have time to stew in that, and because you've been thinking about that, another person it may not even be a thought that there is an issue, right? So you've been thinking about it and like, yes, I'm going to go tell her that we need to have a conversation. So to give the person time to kind of process, like, okay, all right, right. Yeah. So it's very important.
So hey, can we set aside some time tonight? I have a couple of things on my mind, right? Giving them the heads up. Sometimes that could be anxiety provoking as well. Like I know if I said that to my husband, he would be like, why? What's the matter? What's wrong? So, you have to kind of know who your partner is or who the person, and say, hey, listen, it's not a big thing. I just have something on my mind. We're good, but I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So putting aside the time, absolutely. And to respect the fact that we are all kind of coming and going and
right.
We're doing lots of different things. And 2020, all of our stress levels are up. So we need to take that into consideration. Also, to recognize that, the person who's showing up might not be showing up with their best foot forward due to the stress vulnerability model. Are up, so are our symptoms.
Right.
So, so that's definitely effective communication skill number one. Number two,
I'm sorry, and I think about like, just that phrase, which is anxiety provoking. We need to talk. Or can we talk? Like, it's just like, oh my gosh, like something is up.
Yeah. So it could definitely be off-putting, scary. Yes. So I think the second thing we need to talk about, which just flew out of my head, but it'll come back. So, right? I mean, Rashidah, seriously, so the second thing to talk about is the word you. Ooh, right? You. So in healthy communication, when we are sharing a frustration, if you will, we cannot begin that sentence with you. We can't.
Dangerous place.
Dangerous place. And the reason why is because the second the word you flies out of your mouth, we have put our partner, our friend, our coworker, our whoever on the defensive. So we have just literally dictated the tone of the whole conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So they're on the defensive. We get upset because now why are you so defensive? I'm just, letting you know what you did.
Right.
And so, and so that's something definitely to consider.
Right. Because you is just like, whoa, like, whoa. Right. And then it's
there's
like, now
to discuss here.
Right.
I've already solved our problem and it's you. Not exactly the most effective way to get started.
Oh my gosh, no.
Cheryl is saying, what if the other person cuts you off, really doesn't want to listen? Or if you have something you need to talk about to the other person and they get defensive. Yeah. So great question. And what a lovely segue. Rashidah, let's talk about the alternative to the you, right? So go ahead.
So the alternative to the you is the I. I feel, I would like, because now it puts the onus on me.
Yes.
You know,
your feelings.
Yes.
The way you feel, at your feelings, your beliefs, and nobody can debate or dispute your feelings.
Right.
So that's why it's the best way to enter that, Cheryl, whether it's a conflict or contentious or anything, it's about the fact that you are, as a human, you have every right to your feelings. And so if you come to that person and say, I feel sad that you said that to me yesterday because
Mm-hmm.
so Rashidah, how would we do the I am statements or
Okay.
I feel statements?
Okay, well, Hilary.
Yes.
I feel hurt that you missed our meeting last night. I would have liked to have met with you last night to have that meeting.
So this puts me in a place of empathy and understanding. Rashidah, say that to me again with you.
So, okay. You didn't come to the meeting, didn't meet with me yesterday. I don't know who you think you are. You have no respect for anybody but you.
That's really? Yeah. So you can see the dynamic, right? You can see how my whole physicality changes.
Yes.
When you come, my friend, my partner here, when Redang Dang says to me, I feel sad or I feel hurt, like I'm immediately like, wow, okay, let me hear her because she's my friend and I love her and I don't want to ever hurt her.
Yeah, to have her feeling that way. Yeah.
Right. So that had me there. So clearly I'm showing up for her because she's sharing her feelings and I can't dispute that. The other side of it was when she was like, who do you think you are? I'm like, oh, who do I think I am? I'm like taking my earrings out, so it's a whole, we elicit a whole different reaction, right?
Yes.
Rather than a response. So yes. And so that's kind of a way to answer your question, Cheryl, a way to prevent putting the other person on the defensive.
Right.
Is by sharing your feelings. Go ahead.
And another piece of that is, Cheryl, you put, or if you have something you need to talk about to the other person and they get defensive. I mean, we can't control, someone else's reaction. We can do our best to be honest about our own feelings and our own needs. But we have no control of what the other person does. Because
absolutely. So that comes back to what I feel like comes up in a lot of our podcasts and in almost every single one of my therapy sessions is we can't change people. We can only change how we respond to people.
Right.
Right. So, and sometimes the way we respond to people is not to respond. Right. So, the first part of Cheryl's question is, what if the other person cuts you off and doesn't really want to listen? Well, then I believe we have to respect that and maybe say, okay, when would be a good time to talk?
Right. Or using some reflection, right? So kind of, listening to what they're saying and just saying it in your own words, So, I'm feeling like you don't
tell me. Let's do a mock of that. Why don't we? Let's do a little role playing.
I love role plays.
Correct. So let's do what you were just saying. Go ahead.
Okay.
Who do you want to be?
So I'm really upset because you didn't make the meeting yesterday. I'm really pissed off.
So I'm hearing that you're really upset and pissed off that I didn't make the meeting.
Right. Made me upset.
Is there more about that?
No, I'm just pissed off.
So you're pissed off?
Yeah.
So I've just showed Rashidah that I heard her.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
She's being heard, right? And so that's somebody who's not cutting her off. I'm allowing her that space. And you know what, Cheryl, if that person is cutting you off, then you can say, I feel this. And when you're ready to talk to me about it, if there's a better time, let me know, and kind of just leave that door open.
And sometimes when that cutoff happens, it's because sometimes when we're emotionally charged, right? We're not thinking about what the other, we're not listening to what the other person is saying. We are so focused on like that retaliation of like, oh, she is, you know, and I'm going to say X, Y, and Z. And you've not heard anything the person has said.
You've not heard anything because you are emotionally reactive. Your rational and emotional minds are out of balance. You are being reactive. And the only place that that person could meet you is right up here. So what happens? We escalate and we power struggle. That's it.
That was like Kermit the Frog.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows? It does kind of look like Kermit.
Or Lamb Chop.
Okay. Lamb Chop. Oh, we digress. So what else? Tell me. So we have making an appointment, setting up the right time to have a conversation, and being really mindful of the word you.
Right.
So to take the word you out and to focus on the I feel.
Yes. Tone is important.
Right? Speak on it. Yeah.
Well, I can't, like come at you like, okay, so you did not come to the meeting, and I'm really upset. I feel so freaking upset, right? Like that, like kind of bringing it down.
That energy, yeah. So you're again coming from the place of emotional reactivity. Yeah, absolutely. And I think we can bring this on over to other forms of communication in terms of tone. Texting instead of speaking to each other, emailing instead of speaking to each other. We have to speak to each other because tone can be so misconstrued in text and in email. One little punctuation or lack of punctuation insinuates such different things. And so people take things out of context. They get offended. We're not hearing each other.
Oh, right. It's like, have you ever got a text where like it was all like in caps locks, like big letters,
Yeah.
Like,
and that's screaming. Somebody's yelling at me. I'm like, why? Why would you do that to me? Yeah, absolutely. But also, you can't sense tone. I think the only tone you can sense is what we project onto it. Like the story we're telling ourselves, what we think is happening here. And then we can't help but come from that defensive place.
But that's why there's emojis. At the end of the sentence, you could put,
yeah. But just communication 101, do it in person, do it on the phone, so we can really hear each other.
Yes.
Right. And also I think there's a difference between hearing each other and listening.
Ooh, tell me more.
Well, Stephanie said she's an emoji addict. Don't worry, Stephanie, there's help. So am I. I love emojis. They're fantastic. I think that we can listen to somebody and then we could really hear them.
Yeah.
So listening is kind of just the physical space of being in that with somebody, but to truly hear somebody is to allow it in and to process a little bit and to give ourselves permission to again, cross that bridge and, let me cross the bridge over to Rashidah's world and see how she sees it and why she's so upset with me, So there's that difference between hearing and listening.
And I think that nonverbal, the body language does play a significant part because you can tell if someone is really, truly listening to you, hearing you. It's like almost like, I'm listening to you, I'm like,
active listening. Yeah.
But then if I'm doing this,
judgy Magoo.
That's not listening. That's me trying to say, okay, I'm gonna let you get that. And I got something for you.
I already know what I'm going to say next. I I'm having such a lipstick on my teeth problem, Rashidah. I told you.
Nobody sees it, Hilary.
Okay. I feel it, so I'm like, sorry, everybody. Just saying. So what else? What else do we have to say about Communication 101?
We got Shannon on there. Hi, Shannon.
Hey, Shannon.
And we got Stephums.
Yeah.
And she says talking at each other versus
to each other
really has made a difference.
It sure does.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
And so that is a clear, clearly that is making the right time, making time for a conversation, making sure it's the right time for both people, giving each other, like, hey, all right, I'm going to go first. Let me speak, and then you will have time to speak, and kind of setting those parameters. So it can be speaking to each other and not at each other in that kind of, again, power struggle-y way.
Right. And we have to remember too, like that family of origin, right? So if I grew up in a household where, it was just constant yelling, everybody would to get their point of view, screaming, yelling. Or if I grew up in a household where it was, nobody really said how they felt, it was just real quiet, I may pick up some of those things and then model it later in life.
Absolutely. Yeah, the odds are you will.
So knowing where that individual may have come from, and it's going to take time to relearn some of those behaviors.
Absolutely. And it's, again, we're works in progress, right? If we can take one thing from this conversation and not come at our partners with the you and instead make it an I feel, that's a huge, a huge thing to bring that little piece into your relationships, to take that responsibility and say, you know what, when I have to communicate, even when I'm angry, even when I'm upset, I'm not going to do the you thing. I'm not going to do that.
Or, again, thinking about, there was this wonderful, is what I'm going to say hurtful? Is it, is it something that needs to be said?
Right. Is it kind? What's the thing? Is it kind? Is it helpful?
There's a whole list.
Yeah. And that comes with, again, what we mentioned before, and we will mention literally every show, is that balance of rational and emotional minds.
Yeah.
Right. So if we allow ourselves to put some space in between what had just happened, someone just, pissed us off, made us sad, whatever, give it a minute. We do not have to answer immediately. Back in the day, they would, before all this technology and stuff, they would send a man on a horse to give a response. So we had that time and space to kind of hash things out within our own mind and make sure that we are coming from that place of balance so that we can actually use our skills. Because when we're in that, overly emotional, it's irrational, it's charged, and we really can't use our skills until we de-escalate.
You're right. And you made me think about 3 o'clock, we're going to fight. In the morning time, you're all amped up and, I'm going to meet you on the playground or behind the school at 3 o'clock. And then 1 o'clock hits and you're like, I really don't feel like fighting. I really don't have it. I want to just go home. 2 o'clock hits, you're like, oh gosh, I guess I got to really do this fight because everybody's, and then 3 o'clock, it's like, I guess I'm fighting,
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Right. So you make this decision in the heat of the moment at 10 a.m. when I don't know, somebody did something to you. And then by 3 o'clock, we've balanced. It doesn't really bother me that much anymore, but I made this plan and
I made this plan and
I feel like I made my bed. Now I have to lie in it. And that's exactly the responsibility that we have in communication, which is why it's so important to be in a place of balance. And if we're not in a place of balance, that's okay too. But let's have that recognition. Let's develop that self-awareness so that we know not to engage, right? Because sometimes not engaging is the best choice. Right. I'm not going to engage until I have a moment, or I'm not going to engage until I sleep on it. Like I'm exhausted and it's been a day and I don't have the capacity right now. So let's develop that awareness. So, again, so we can implement these skills. One of the skills, it helps.
And you think about all that energy that you kind of put into like just the being upset and the yelling and the, and if you can just kind of pause, like just take a pause, and distraction is really great. Like, let me go and think about something else. Let me go do something else for a while. Cause right now, like I'm feeling like my heart is racing, but I wanted to bring to those that are here tonight, in the chat and those out there in the podcast world. Have you ever like in the heat of the moment said something because you were upset with your partner, family member, friend, and then later on, no. No. And then later on, you're like, oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Because I know what's happened to me. Like I've like been in the heat of the moment and I'll say something that and I'll cut you deep, and then I'm like, oh my gosh.
Right. And that's the thing. Yeah. Like it does cut deep.
Yeah.
And like, we teach our kids like words hurt and they do cut deep. And in our emotional reactive space, we want to cut deep. We want to cut, we want to hurt, we want to go for the jugular in that moment. Yet when we then do that, we're like, I can't believe I said that.
Right.
I can't believe I showed up like that. I can't believe I hurt the person that I love so much like that. So
I've heard people say, when they feel themselves getting revved up and heated, they'll say to themselves, like, okay, I'm going to have to step back before I say something I don't want to say.
Right.
Or regret.
Which is a wonderful thing. However, we could do without the verbal statement of, I'm going to step away before I say something.
What do you want to say? What did you want to say?
Right. Because that statement in itself is antagonistic. And it's like a like you're lucky that I'm going to, stay. So yes.
You're lucky they're holding me back. You're lucky they're holding me back.
Right. So yes, while that is an incredible instinct to have, just act on it. Don't verbalize it.
Keep it in your brain.
Walk away with that and hold it and say, yeah, I'm proud of myself. I'm proud that I didn't engage like that because it would have been ugly. Yeah.
We have more comments.
Yeah. What is Steph saying?
I've been using signals for when me and my husband get really upset to communicate to each other when one of us needs the space. Sometimes when I'm emotionally reactive, I really can't use my skills. You're so right. But it's super interesting to see how my mood and train of thought changes after like a 10. Oh, after like a 10. After like 10 minutes, cool down. Definitely recommend signals if too mad to talk.
Amazing. Yes. 100. Yes. I mean, you can literally say cantaloupe. You can have a code word, bracelet, whatever it is. To kind of, it's a clue like, hey, I'm not ready to talk, or we need to talk, but not right now. Yes. That is an incredible, really wonderful thing to bring into a relationship.
Yeah. Great work. I have a true life, Steph, you just made me think. I have a true life situation that happened not too long ago. So in the supermarket, I don't know if anybody else this has happened to, but in the supermarket, I was standing online and then the person like turned their light off. The light off means that, like I'm closing down, but I was already, so I'm like, and I saw the light go off. I didn't say anything, but then when they started taking the cash, the thing out of the drawer, I was like, hey, I was here. And, the person was like, I gotta go. And then I'm like, so it was just like, ooh.
I have a choice here. And then you have the angel and the devil on your shoulders.
Right.
We have two ways to go here.
Right. And sometimes it depends on, my other self was saying like, no, you put that draw back in because I've been standing here all the time waiting. Yeah. And if that was the case, I would have went to another aisle. But no, I'm going to stay here and you're going to do what I think you need to do. Do the right thing.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And we have Allison who just chimed in with, oh, hell no. They have, Rashidah, Allison's going to have your back.
I love her.
They have to take who's online. I literally would go bananas, and she absolutely would. And we pick and choose. But absolutely. I mean, that's literally like customer service 101. Like, we all know the rules of, if you're already online and they shut their light off, it clearly means that you're the last one online, boo. Anybody get behind you, then you can gently say, she's closed. Absolutely.
So what did Rashidah do, though? What did
Dang do?
So, okay, those thoughts were in my head, and then I started seeing people look at me because it was one of those like spectator kind of, ooh, like it's getting real. Right. Yeah. And I already had my army fatigue on, I was ready. I was ready. And then I was just like, and then people were like, oh, like you should take her. I was like, no, that's okay. I'll go right
now. I'm out. They were saying you should take her. Like,
yeah. Like, So
I know. I'm just making sure I'm hearing you correctly. Hilarious. Okay.
And then I thought it through, right? Like if I take her, then not good, right? Not good. I have a lot on. I have a lot on.
I have my license on the line here.
I got babies. Like,
so there you were in that moment. You were like, "I'll take her," and then you're like, "Whoa! Clearly, I need to balance, right?" So. Well done. Clear. I didn't read about you in the newspaper, and you still have an active license in the state of New Jersey. So well done. Well done. Yeah, listen.
But I want to add to that story. I know I'm like going about the story, but there's a part 2. So I went on another line and I was like stewing. So a couple weeks later, that same person was on the register, and I went purposefully. Like, do you remember me?
In my face.
Yeah. And he's like, she was like, I want to say that I'm sorry because I had something she was rushing to do. And then I was just like, it's good. It's all good.
So in other words, she took accountability. And in that moment, in both moments, she was doing the best she could with what she knew. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, in terms of human beings, right, we never know where someone else has just come from or where they're headed. And so, which is always the other reason to choose kindness, right? Mm-hmm. That's a good story, Rashidah. I actually love it. And I can't even tell you the images dancing around in my head right now. I can't. It's like, literally, I can't even.
I feel like it only happens to me, right? Like, it's just like these things, but I know it's not just me, but it's just like, really?
It happens to my friend Allison all the time.
Oh, hell no.
She's like, oh, hell no. Tell me. So we've hit upon quite a few things in between our silliness, of course, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
So in terms of communication, anything else we need to hit before we kind of, get to our bowl of no shame stuff? Like, I think in terms of what we've spoken about, all of them become practical solutions. This is literally, we hit them. But one thing I want to mention before we wrap Communication 101, if you will allow, is, how we talk about self-care all the time and how important it is for self, right? We need to, not pour from an empty cup. We need to find those slices of joy that will fill our cup so we're still able to, take care of others. So what comes to mind for me in terms of communication is relationship care. like self-care. So what I mean by that is that there are things that we can be doing in our relationships, not only our romantic relationships, and our friendships, our business relations.
Right.
What kind of care can we be giving to that relationship in order to foster this healthy / effective communication? So that we are more tolerant of one another, so that we can feel like we have the safe space to come in and say, Rashidah, I feel sad that happened last night. Because I just felt let down. Whatever, right?
Right.
To do that care, what can we do? What do we like to do together? Can I bring her a cup of coffee? What is she like? Can I surprise her with something funny, a little note on her desk, or just little ways we can be attending to our relationships in order to keep them on solid ground, so we know it's always safe to communicate how we feel.
That's huge. That is huge because, again, sometimes we're all busy with our lives and things like that. And we may not be in tune to what's going on, whether it's with a partner, with a friend or whoever, and just kind of having, making sure we have those moments where we're connecting with that person that we care about. Yeah. And which would make it a safe space to be like, hey, I just wanted to kind of talk to you about something that's been on my mind.
Right. And also, once we've had a rupture in a relationship and we've communicated and all that, how can we repair? Maybe we need to spend a little time together. Maybe we need to make sure that we, text each other once a week or whatever it is for that relationship.
Right.
I mean, that's what I wanted to mention.
No, I mean, and everything that was said, I felt today that was highlighted is just, just very important, right? And again, some of these things are, just little subtle things that you can do to kind of change some of the dynamics, and again, we talked about, just kind of getting that you, putting it in the call, goodbye you, and I feel.
Yeah, so let's review. So practical solutions for today would be number one was scheduling time.
Yes.
Scheduling time, just because it's a good time for you to speak about something, it might not be a good time for the other person involved. So to take that into consideration, make an appointment, be mindful of where they're at, because it's not just you, right? The 50-50, right? That was the second part of it. 50-50. We need to show up not only ready to hear and listen, but also ready to share our truth and allow that person to be there for us in that capacity.
Right.
Number three, balancing our rational, emotional mind, so we recognize that we should or should not engage right at this moment. It would not be a healthy choice, right? We talked about, Rashidah, throwing away the you statements and going to the I feel. Why? Because nobody can debate or dispute your feelings. They are yours.
They are yours.
And relationship care, right? What can I do? How can I self-care in this relationship? What do we need? And if we don't know what we need, then let's talk about it and come up with some things, right? That list of things we could do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are amazing. And, again, we're going from a place of accusing or blaming the other person to, hey, I need help with this, almost like a partnership,
I'm trusting you here to share my feelings, and this is how I need you to show up. Oh, and the other thing, big thing, was the expectations, right? In a relationship, and that it's not fair for us to expect our partner, friend, business, whatever, to know what we need. It is up to us to ask for what we need. That's our responsibility on us. Unless we're married to a mind reader or partnering up with a mind reader.
Yeah, we would expect them to know.
Exactly. So I think that's communication 101.
Oh, it was great. And now we have the bowl of no shame. You've been all waiting for this moment.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. Rashidah. Redang dang.
Redang dang.
Redang dang. Redang dang. If you were a flavor, what would you be?
I don't know why that you're going to say if you were a fish, what fish would you be? I don't know, because I think I was thinking about whiting. Okay.
That's easy. Whiting, or you'd be a crustacean, which I think a shrimp is a crustacean.
No, I would want to be like Dory. Whatever kind of fish Dory was, I want to just keep forgetting.
Oh my God. Well, I think that's fish in general, but I don't know. So thanks for answering that question. The real question is, if you were a flavor, what would you be?
If I was a flavor, what would I be? Oh my gosh, this is like a real deep question. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you got your answer ready, but I don't.
I'm actually thinking as I.
I don't know. The first thing that came to me was like a strawberry.
Ooh.
Because like a strawberry has like I feel like it's a two thing. You know, it's like got a little, was it soury? But I guess it depends on how long you let it go, right? Okay. Like if it's really ripe, it tastes like real perfect. But then if you don't, if it's, you know what I'm saying? And then it gets like all a little tangy. So like, you know, give me some time in a relationship and you'll get some
sweet.
Tangy. Some sweet instead of tangy.
All right. Wow. I love how you went there. I immediately went to ice cream.
Ooh, what flavor?
I'm saying that I would be French vanilla with caramel. Like I would be like and it's not vanilla. Why? What?
I was going to say mocha. Right now? I was going to say mocha. I don't know why. Does a mocha fall into that category or not?
Mocha is like a coffee-ish. It can fall into the ice cream category, but that's not my flavor. I'm sorry, Rashidah said my flavor, I would be mocha. No, I would be like a vanilla, like a classic vanilla with that sweet and salty caramel. That would be me.
They have vanilla ice cream with caramel in it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Really? Oh, we're gonna have to go taste some of that together?
No, if I go to the store, I can say I want a vanilla ice cream with caramel in it.
Oh my gosh, yes. And they also have like I think they're called, I don't know if it's like Ben and Jerry's like Karma something, and there's it's like a vanilla, it's like a pint of vanilla, and then in between, running through the whole center is caramel.
I think I've seen that one. I know. I can see.
I didn't go out. You know what I said.
Hilary, I see you salivating already.
I know. Sorry. So, all right. Here's the next question. I guess I'll answer this one first. What was the last thing you did for the first time?
The last thing you did for the first time.
The last thing I did for the first time was spending time with alpacas at Out of Sight Alpaca Farm. If you guys in New Jersey have not been there, it's amazing. You get to feed them and hang out with them. So at Out of Sight Alpacas. So that was the last thing I did for the first time. You?
Amazing. The last thing I did for the first time would be I touched a worm. I know it sounds bizarre, but like I don't like insects or whatever, but my daughter has been on this worm kick.
Yeah, and we talked about that.
Did we talk about this? Yeah.
Well, in fact, yes.
She threw it on me.
Oh, no.
She has a habit of like just, Mommy, isn't it cute? Isn't it beautiful? And I think she can sense my like, ew, and she's like, here. And so I'm like, get this thing. But I never felt one before.
Oh, that's so funny. Wow.
Have you?
I mean, oh my God, all the time. So all the time. So first of all, we had to dissect worms in like the 5th grade. We had to like open them up and like peel on in there. And also I am the mother of a son, and my son got into worms, or wormin, as he used to call them. They were called wormin. And so he would pick them up, and listen, in order to connect and align, you have to get over that, real quick. So I was like, oh yeah. And now to this day, when we go on a walk, like after a rain, and we see worming in the street or on the sidewalk or in a driveway, we will pick them up. I do it all the time. Like, I'm so desensitized. I will pick the worm up and put it back in the grass, because we know that if the sun comes out, they're going to dry and get stuck and die there. So we literally save the worms everywhere we go.
Oh, you're a superhero.
I have, without my son, stopped in a parking lot, walked past one, and came back. I don't know. It's like some of the guilt stuff I work on. Like, oh God, I saw him. If I see something, say something. I've gone back, picked it up, and found a safe space for it. So.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
So yeah, that's my story with worming. So yeah, here we are. That was the Bowl of No Shame for this week.
Bowl of No Shame.
That's Communication 101 for this week. Next week, we will be continuing holiday stress part 2. That means 2. So holiday stress part 2. And again, please, everybody, go to Spotify, iTunes, and SoundCloud. Yes, please download us. Tell your friends about us. We're just out here trying to normalize mental health. Yes. So help us spread our message. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. And your friends. Share this live cast from Facebook, right? Yeah. You can go from our page and share. I don't know. All that great stuff. And just be kind to yourself. Remember, this is a tough time of year. Self-care, self-compassion. Yes. Be kind to yourself and do your best to recognize that we're all doing the best we can with what we know.
Yeah, that's all we can do. That's all we can do. Connie, once again, a most excellent hour spent. It makes us feel so good.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks, hey, Marie and Rita. Thank you for listening to us. We will be back next week. Remember, take the you out. I feel. We're allowed to get in our feelings. And honor those things. Good from my head to my toes. Oh, good. And I was like, wow, I feel good. All right, well, before Rashidah and I lose it totally, we will see you next week. Be
Bye,
good.
guys. SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes. Check us out.
The Not Okay, It's Okay podcast includes casual conversations related to mental health, self-care, practical tips and resources, along with validation that not being okay is okay. You acknowledge and agree that the following warnings and disclaimers shall apply to all of our content.
This podcast represents the opinions of Hilary Scheer, LPC, and Rashidah Cartwright, LCADC, and their guests to the show. The information provided is for informational purposes only, and we recommend that you consult with a healthcare professional for medical or mental health advice.
The views and opinions expressed in the Not Okay, It's Okay podcast are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. Do not use our content in lieu of professional advice given by qualified medical or mental health professionals. Always seek the advice of your own medical mental health provider related to your specific medical or mental health condition prior to implementing any recommendations or suggestions from using our content.
Privacy is of great importance to us. That being said, all people, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast have been changed to protect patient confidentiality.